Okay, we are on.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. Join our weekly interview. Today, we have a very, very special guest. Her name is Delia Trivino, and she is going to talk about autism and inclusion. Hi, Delia. Welcome to
Hi, how are you?
Welcome to Cafe with Global Family Support. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
It's a pleasure for me too to
Delia,
be with you guys.
thank you. Can you tell us a little bit who is Delia?
Okay, well, I work in Florida for the Cielo School District in Kissimmee. Okay, specifically in a school where I work in a self-contained unit with kids with autism, and I have been working in this field for about I think 8 years or 10 years probably. I have a master's degree in special education in the field of autism. And I really enjoy my work. I don't see myself doing anything else but working with my little kids.
Delia, I understand that you, first of all, you have a teaching regular kids. Why
Yes.
autism? What motivates you to work with autism?
Yes. So all my life I was a gen ed teacher. Um, I lived in Ecuador, South America, and I was teaching over there. And I always taught gen ed students. In fact, I never knew anything about autism. I have to be very honest. When I came to live here in the States, I wanted to continue being a teacher. But in the process of, getting everything ready, taking all the tests and all that, I fell into being a paraprofessional of a self inclusion also with children with autism. And even though in that moment I didn't I didn't fall in love. It was not for love at first sight, But then like gradually every day that I was with this kid, because I was a one-on-one with a kid that was like his behavior was terrible. And you know I remember that every day that my day went by and I had to go home, uh the principal used to call me and say, "Are you coming tomorrow?" So it was so difficult, this kid that she thought that because before me everybody quit.
Uh-huh.
Everybody quit it. So, I just said, if I am here, it's for a reason, and I'm going to do my best. But I passed all my tests and I became a gen ed teacher. But, after 3 years of being a gen ed teacher, well, I passed also my special education test. So I received all the special education kids in the gen ed. So it was really hard because, you know, that when you're in gen ed, everything is so different. It's a different world. In my opinion, that's the dark side, really. Like we are in the bright side. But gen ed, for me, in my opinion, is the dark side. Why? Because, there are so many kids with special needs that are there, and we have to juggle with so many different exceptionalities. Okay. So, and I was missing so much those kids that I started with, that I said, I think that it's time for me just to go to this bright side of the autism field. And I went through. And honestly, I have to thank the only teacher that I worked with as a para with these kids with autism. That was Amalia Rotman. I think that I talked to you about her.
Huh?
And she was the one who really inspired me at the beginning, you
Okay.
know. And then when I started working in the same school that you work now, then you also inspired me.
Oh,
So
thank you.
and I see you like a person who knows a lot and from whom I learn a lot too. So
That's
I want to
Nice.
thank you right now because part of what I am right now, it's because of you too.
Thank you, Delia. That's it's a very nice compliment for me. But let me tell you something or ask you something. You know that the school right now I full is full are full of neurodiversity, and this into that neurodiversity we have a student with autism. What do you think about the inclusion of those students? What is you think about it?
Well, if we're going to talk about exclusively about children with autism, well, there are two, and in general, with for all these kids that are that have the neurodiverse kids in general, there are two type of inclusion. The academic inclusion, right, and the social inclusion, right. In the academic inclusion, let's say that life is easier there. You know why? Because all of these kids have an IEP, an individual education plan, right? And if we're going to um, uh, push these kids for an inclusive environment, like in the gen ed mainstream, if I am not wrong what you're asking me, okay, still, that that's a legal document, and we implement all those, or we have to put in place those accommodations and modifications that the kids need, so to for them to better function. Okay, so that's a legal document, and I think that let's say that most of the teachers do it. Not all of them, because I also understand the gen ed teacher because I was a gen ed teacher, but I used to read uh, all the accommodations that my students needed in the gen ed classroom, and I tried to serve as much as I could all their needs in their in the gen ed classroom. But honestly, to be honest with you, right now that I am an ASD teacher, when I push one of my students to go to gen ed, I find a lot of difficulties. Okay, are some clashes that we go through with the gen ed teacher. At the beginning they say, oh my god, what am I going to do? I don't know how I am supposed to work with this kid, because honestly, with all these testing that Janet has to they all have to go through,
Mhm.
it's, it's difficult for the Janet teacher. But you know what, like I always say, at the beginning it's difficult, and it's going to be time consuming, a lot of things that you implement for these kids, but in the long term it's going to be so easy, because they will just follow through whatever. If they follow what we tell them to follow, everything will be fine.
Exactly.
But, and I know that it's a lot of time, a lot of time consumption there, that they will say, no, I'd rather be working with my kids, preparing them for the test, the state test or whatever. But you know what, uh, we can do it. If we implement it in the right way, we can do it. Okay, the thing is that sometimes we just don't want to try, and if we don't want to try, then everything is lost. And again, I tell you, I was a gen ed teacher, and I know what we go through, but in the same time, I know that we can do it because I did it. And I know many teachers that do it. It's tiring. But in the long term, it's so rewarding. So rewarding. And then on the other side, the social inclusion, there that part is even more difficult because um it's so difficult to make accommodations in a world so selfish, let's say, because our kids are the minority, and you know that minorities have always been like left aside a little bit, right? So I think that it's very, very difficult, more difficult for society to establish the real need for these minorities. Okay. And in the case of our students, for example, in my, probably you're going to be like a little bit opposed to my way of thinking, but because I know you, but I try, for example, when, now not all of the kids are the same. One of the things that I learned here, and whenever I go to a workshop, they say the same. When children with autism, you only know one children with autism.
Exactly.
All of them are so different.
That's unique.
So in this case, what I try to do with my kids, because they have so many sensory issues that the world outside is not ready for them to fulfill those needs that they have. So when they come to me, okay, sometimes they come with those earphones, with things that, well, fidgets are, let's say, more doable to get, but sometimes I say, well, you know what, the world is not going to stop because of our kids. So we need to teach our kids to go like at least a little bit along with the world, So I start, taking off those earphones. And when they start, okay, I teach them to ignore sounds, to ignore things that bother them. I try to, and when sometimes they just look at me and I say, what do you need to ignore? Right? So, I have had like a good, let's say, good results with that. And most of my kids, and sometimes like the parents come to me and say, hey, he used to hate this, he used to hate that, and now, yeah, you only have to tell him at home, ignore. And I have an anecdote with this, because one of my kids like was he was terrible, really, because like he couldn't hear the happy birthday song. And he hated it so much. And and the mom and the aunt and the grandma came to me and said, no, but please don't sing happy birthday because he doesn't like it. If you have a birthday party, please let me know so he doesn't have to come to school that day. So I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to teach him, because he's going to be in a party probably one day, and because he doesn't like it, nobody could sing it. So I said, no, every day I used to sing happy birthday. so and I used to tell him, you know what, you don't like it, ignore it, just pretend that nobody's singing. So he started, and even when it was his birthday, that day, the last day of school that we were celebrating his birthday, we all sang happy birthday, and the mom, everybody was there. And he says, incredible. He has become so good at ignoring that whenever I tell him something, he says, you know what, I'm going to ignore you. So, I try to prepare them for the world, because honestly, and we prepare them for the world, but the world is not prepared for them. And it's sad. I think that schools need more awareness of that, in that part. Those Gen Ed kids that sometimes think, oh, they're weird, I don't want to be with them or whatever. We should include them, even if they are in self-contained. We should include them in a way that the Gen Ed kids could be a role model for them, and the kids with ASD also be a role model for them, because they can learn from each other. We can learn from anybody. Okay. So I think that in my opinion, schools should be pointing more to that awareness.
Exactly, Delia. I know how beautiful you work with the kids, how passionate you are.
Yeah.
Also, that you get a teacher of the year, right?
Yes, that was long. That was like 5 years ago.
No, but it's a good recognize that they are
Yeah.
recognize your job because you are, I know that how you work. Delia, during the process of inclusion, there are some elements that we have to take in consideration. It's not only the child with a special need. We have to
Mhm.
take in consideration our parents, the school per se, including the teachers and the children with any disability. What do
Mhm.
you think are the challenges that one of those elements are face are faced?
As I told you before, when I always say this, when we think that our child is ready to go to gen ed, for example, if he's in a self-contained unit and they're ready for full inclusion in gen ed, we face a lot of difficulties. First of all, oh no, they're not reading at the level. They are they taking the same test? Oh, they're below level. You know, there are many obstacles in the way, and I always tell my parents that they're gonna face that throughout their life, especially educational life. They're going to face that, and worse, outside. And I always tell them, you are the most valuable advocate that your kid could have. So don't let anybody discourage you or discourage him or her. And you know what? Just go for it. Okay. You need to have your IEP must be like so precise, and that's like your Bible. You have to have it right there.
Mhm.
Way the law. If you don't learn the law, like, you will be lost. And be more involved in your kids' education too, because sometimes this is another part that it's an obstacle too, when the parents are not involved. Sometimes I had that feeling that our parents tend to like give up on their kids,
Uh-huh.
because they say, oh no, he's never going to learn. He will never do this. He will never. No, I have seen so many great changes in kids that probably at the beginning you said, no, he, he, he's 5 or 6 years old and he's not talking. And all of a sudden, when he's 8 or 9, he starts talking. So, I have seen so many good things with my kids and other teachers' kids too. And throughout our teaching life here, that I say, listen, everybody learns. There's not one person or one child that it's not going to learn anything. They're learning something. You might think that they're not, but they are. Okay. And I have seen those changes in my life. I have seen it in their lives. I have seen it, you know, and the teachers, the parents, and the kids, one thing that they can never do is give up. They have to continue. Okay. And, one another thing that I tell my parents is, if they're, because sometimes there is a challenge, because probably, academically speaking, they are very high, but socially speaking, they're very low. So, you know what? I tell them, you just have to correct him, or her. And obviously, this behavior therapies outside are really good. Social therapies are really good. And, if you don't have the person, you be that person who can guide your kid in a great way. I admire many of my parents who have done amazing things with their kids. And I have seen also other parents that they not only have given up on their kid, but also on themselves. And you can tell, you know uh, and I usually go and talk to them. And what I start doing to get them involved is to make my kids be successful in what they do. For example, and Doris, that repetition is the best thing.
Exactly.
I will make them repeat 10 times a task and then send it home, and then they will do it all by themselves because they already know it. So the parents say, hey, he's doing this. He came home and all by himself he did it. Boom, you got them. You
Exactly.
already because they are calling you and they're telling you, hey, my boy was not doing that or my girl was not doing that, and now they're doing that. You know, we need to get those parents involved no matter what. And in the time that you have that parent involved, half of the way is already great for them.
Exactly.
Get everybody in that committee that we have, as you said, general education teachers, special education teachers, RCSs, everybody involved, and everybody fighting for one cause, for the cause of that kid. If we are pushing them to be included, it's because we know that they're ready. If not, we're not going to do it. You know, we will do it when they are ready.
Mhm.
So that's what I think in general.
That's amazing, Delia. So right now, do you have any advice that you can give it to the teachers, general teachers, to best serve to a student with a special need in a regular classroom?
Yes. First of all, the special education teacher is your best ally. So if you think that something is difficult, challenging for that boy, go to one of the ASD team or a special ed team and ask them, okay, he's facing this challenge. What will be the best strategy for them? You know, now all the general education teachers must at least be get one course per year about special education. So take those courses because you have every 4 years, you have to at least have one. Take more than one, take three, go and, a little bit of reading. It's not going to hurt. It's going to be very valuable to you. And follow the indications of the special education teacher because she knows better how to guide this kid. It's not that the gen ed teacher is not gonna know. No, of course they know a lot. But if we work as a team, everything will be better. Nobody wants to be more than anybody. We just want to help. So for me, the best advice that I can give the gen ed teachers is talk to the special education teacher and get together during a planning time or right now those PLCs, famous PLCs that we have, and start doing, make a plan together. Even bring the parent, get them involved. Everything, like everything. If we work as a team, everything will be better.
Thank you, Delia. It's a pleasure to listen to you, to high experience that you have. I'm very sure I'm gonna be with you sitting again, drinking a coffee
Of
with the
course.
Global Family Support, and really appreciate that you be and the support that you give it at the communities. And
Yes.
thank you for the one that I'm watching us. And if you wanna support us, follow up our channel, visit our website www.globalfamilysupport.org, and we're gonna see you next Tuesday. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Delia, it was a pleasure to have you here. Hope to have you soon again in our channel.
Of course. Anytime.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.